and welcome back to the Beard Talks. This video is mainly just going to be full of spoilers about the Amazing Spider-Man, as I said about in the original, as the previous video I said. And this one we're just going to talk about everything that happened, all the spoilers, everything, just everything, everything, just like what I thought about it, etc. So, as I said, the other one is a brilliant film. All the actors played fantastically. Andrew Garfield played a brilliant Peter Parker. Gwen Stacy by Emma Stone brilliantly, etc. So, let's get into it. Spoilers. So the movie starts off mainly with Peter Parker, usual bully guy, but he's actually like usual bully. He's got his camera and everything, taking pictures, putting pictures up. I must admit, it just works so well. He makes a fantastic Peter Parker. They put it down to a T. They must have sat there and just wrote this part and just think, oh, what is this Peter Parker? And also the things that are different between this one and the other Spider-Man is that's the first Spider-Man with Tobey Maguire. He had little things here that his web come out. The way Peter Parker gets his powers, he goes to Oscorp looking for Doc Connors because he worked with his dad. Because he Peter Parker found a bag in his uncle's basement, and he went into it and saw a file with Doc Connors' name on it, etc., and a picture. And he's like, oh, alright. And so he went to Oscorp to find him. And of course, Peter Parker just doesn't really want to follow the trend. He just goes walking off in the building and walks into the thing where he sees some genetically engineered spiders, which you see during the start of the film. Just like that's what his father was working on, is cross-species genetics, like how to combine two species. And what he produced was these spiders, which can produce like high tensile thread, which is stronger than steel, and can hold so much more weight, and you can barely pull it apart. And but yeah, so going on about that, he goes walking off, and he sees the spider lab where all the spiders sing, and I don't know why, but he walks straight into the room where all the spiders are, and just like pings on the strings, and the machines just go mental, and he's like, uh-oh, and he gets covered in spiders, and he gets most of them off, but one of them like hides down the back of his neck. And so he ends up walking out, and he bumps into Gwen Stacy, who's an intern at Oscorp, and they're speaking about it. And the spider bites him, and he's like, "Oh crap, what the hell?" And just like doesn't think anything of it, and ends up going home. And so he's on the train, he's just laying there, and some drunk guy comes over with his bottle and puts the bottle on his head while he's asleep, and you see a bit of water drop down, and it hits his head, and he ends up flying up and sticking to the ceiling. He doesn't know what's going on. And he somehow comes down, and he's just like sitting there, and just like they all start trying to fight him. He starts like knocking them off because of the spider sense and like just reflexes, just knocking them out here and there, just not even thinking. And while doing it, just saying, "Oh, sorry." And the funny bit where he like puts his hand on this girl's top to say sorry, and the girl's top sticks to it. He's just like, he can't get it off. And he's just like, oh crap. And he ends up ripping the girl's top off, and ends up just like beating the crap out of the guys who are trying to beat him up, and then he ends up just trying to run home to his parents. He doesn't look very well, but then he ends up going to sleep. So very different from the first one, where he gets his powers almost instantaneously, and but as I said, he doesn't have the things, and he has to later on. He makes these ejection, like electronic ejection things that actually jet the thread out that he you can get from Oscorp, these little cartridge threads, so similar to what happened in the cartoon and some of the comic books, where he just like puts it in things. So there might be some variations in that in the next couple of films, saying, oh, he might be able to put like a stronger steel and like a wetter one, or something like that, or something or other, like different chemical compositions of the thread, so he can do other things with it. And it was quite good. So the thing is, then there's some underlying things about responsibility in the film, just like, so when they say like, with great power comes great responsibility, that isn't said in the film. I don't believe so. I didn't catch it all, but it might have been. But there's an underlying theme with his uncle about responsibility, and he keeps trying to be in the Parker that he has to be responsible now, and so, because he was meant to pick up his Aunt May, but ends up just trying to play with his powers and playing around with his skateboard, etc. And it's interesting, because he's just like, then that's how he comes back and he goes, responsibility. What about my dad's responsibility for me? Because in the start of the film, you actually see him with Peter as a boy with his parents, and they end up leaving him with his uncle and aunt and to go away. And so that's where it comes from. It's just like, where is he now? Where is his responsibility to me, etc. He ends up walking out, and then Uncle Ben follows him, and then this is how Uncle Ben kind of dies. It's just like Peter Parker goes into a store to buy a drink, and he hasn't got enough, and then this guy behind him is like knocks over something, nicks on the money at till, and then he walks out. And so and the guy chases him, and he's like, "Why don't you?" And the guy goes to Peter, "Why don't you chase him when it's not my priority? You wouldn't let me buy him a drink because I didn't have enough change, because I was out by a penny or something like that." And he ends up walking over the road, and Uncle Ben's there, and the guy trips over and the gun falls out, and Uncle Ben ends up wrestling with the robber to try and get the gun, and I believe that's just under the responsibility of him just trying to protect people. He ends up getting shot, and that's how Peter sees it, goes over and just really just loses it. He does. He's just like he doesn't know where he is, and he's still got his powers. And that bit was quite bad. That was just really just like felt really down. You felt bad for him, etc. Because he still goes to school, and the bully Flash, who were beaten up, he just actually comes and consoles him about his uncle dying, which I thought was a great part, because that's probably would happen. Like bully would go, "Oh, I'm so sorry, man," etc. But Peter doesn't want any of it, and he just wants revenge. So goes out looking for the guy who did this to his uncle, because he had the description from the police, and he goes out looking for him, just looking for anyone who resembles him and beating them up. And so he gets into one fight which is a bit over his head, and he ends up running away from them, and because he didn't wear a mask they knew what he looked like, and he ends up falling into a wrestling ring, which is quite convenient because that's where Peter Parker really did his, in the first Spider-Man film, did his thing. So I think they've taken a few elements from that and put them into this one. So he falls into a wrestling ring, looks up, he can see a mask, like one of the luchadors would wear, just to cover up the identity. He's like, "Oh, maybe I can wear a mask," and then that's where he develops the suit, or mask it does. Then it goes on to that, goes the suit, and it's quite interesting. It's like how it works. It all just flows nicely and works well together. Then because Peter Parker gave Dr. Connors this formula that helped cross-species generation, because as you know, Dr. Connors has got half an arm, and he's been trying to regrow it back, and lizards can regrow it, so he made this formula that he injects into his arm, and to regrow back his arm. It works, but then the lizard DNA takes over and he becomes the lizard, and then he goes after one of the people, like after Norman Oscorp, because Norman Oscorp's ill in the film for some reason. There isn't much said about him. He's just like he's ill and he needs to be helped, etc. And then that's how this comes along. The lizard goes after him, and then Peter Parker, Spider-Man, goes after him, and he's helping all these people. And then he gets into his head. Then he saves a child from falling from a car, like into the river, and he goes and he's saying, his dad's saying, "Thank you very much. Who are you? I'm Spider-Man," and that's how he gets responsibility to himself. It's like, oh wow. So yeah, it goes along those lines all the way through the film. It's like how I love it how they've written how to be responsible, how people are gets, and instead of going with great power comes great responsibility. I'm glad they didn't really just shove that line in. They've used it so much, but other than that, the film, the ending's quite good. It's just like how he changes it over, and how he's like a vigilante with the cops, etc. And how the entire such as in Spider-Man 2, the entire city gets behind him, and that's the same thing that happens in this one. The guy whose son he saved is a crane operator, and Spider-Man's injured by the police because they're after him as well as a lizard, and they help him with a crane operator. So he put all the cranes in the way, so he can get a swing all the way to Oscorp to stop the lizards from releasing this anti-agent and antivirus thing or virus thing into the air to turn everyone into lizards, such as himself, which I thought was really, really interesting. It's just like, alright, so he's done that, so City gets behind him. I'm like, oh wow, that's really good. It's just like, and then he goes there, and it's not a traditional fight because Spider-Man's injured and the lizard's just so overpowered. So he uses his brain about using liquid nitrogen to try and slow the guy down, while Gwen Stacy's dad, who is a cop and now knows Peter Parker's identity, helps him out to try and stop this thing going off. And so yeah, that's really the movie. But then, because what happens, Gwen Stacy's dad is attacked by the lizard and killed. Well, not really killed, but injured to the point of almost death. And so when the Spider-Man changes the virus over from a virus to an antigen, it transforms the lizard and anyone else in the area back into human. And so Dr. Connors becomes back to human instead of going mental with the lizard. And he saves Peter Parker's life by stopping him from falling off the building. And he tells him about Gwen Stacy's dad, and he goes over to Gwen Stacy's dad and he goes, "Peter, promise me you stay out of Gwen Stacy's life because you always have enemies." So that's pretty good, because it's just like, oh, because I don't want her to get hurt, and it's like that. And during the funeral, he doesn't turn up, but he does. He's hidden away, and then Gwen comes to his house and is like, "Where were you? Where are you? Where have you been?" He's like, "I can't see you anymore." And as she's walking off, she goes, He made you promise, didn't he?" And he's like, "Yeah, did." And it goes along those lines till the end of the movie, where Peter's late for class, and he sits behind Gwen Stacy, and the teacher goes, "Don't make promises you can't keep." And Peter goes to Gwen, "But those are the best ones." And Gwen smiles. So they might be still together in the second one, or it might just be thinking, "Oh, might as well go with this. Be interesting." But yeah, so that's mainly the movie. Just mainly, it flows so well, and so many laughters, enjoyment points, things to make you smile, things to make you sad. There might be some really crying points when Uncle Ben dies and other bits and pieces, but it's just a fantastic, well-rounded film. It just flows so well, and it's very rare to get those type of films nowadays. But it seems like Hollywood's learning that these type of films are so much better if they just flow instead of flying all over the place. So I must admit, go and watch it. It's really good. And to the end scene after the credits, there's a bit of an end scene where we see Dr. Connors taken into jail finally and put away. He ends up sitting in the belt, and he sees a lightning bolt go off, and then a shadow appears, and this strange man walks out the shadow and talks to him. He said, "Did you tell him about his father?" And it's like, "No, you stay away from him. I didn't tell him anything." And he goes, "Well, we're going to have to keep an eye on Spider-Man then," and walks back into the shadow, and seems he disappears. So there's a little bit of no one knows really what this is. It could be Norman Osborn. Norman Osborn's name was dropped so many times in this film. It's just that we never even saw him. But it could be Norman Osborn. But I have a funny thing. It could be Peter's father. I have a funny feeling that Peter's father is still alive in this film, in these films, and Peter's father is still there, or it could be Venom. Like it could be a Venom arc, like coming in, perhaps like Venom could be, because they're thinking about making a Venom film. They are, so it could be like an arc for Venom, and but I'm not too sure, because they could do anything. Because the next two films, they obviously got to bring in Norman and the Green Goblin, Harry as well. We never saw Mary Jane, Harry Osborn, Norman Osborn. We never saw any of them. So these characters have to show up in the next couple of films, but which I'm looking forward to. I think it's possibly May 2014 that the next Spider-Man's out. Not entirely sure. Don't quote me on that, but I think it's possibly May 14th, 2014. Sorry, 2012, 2014 it'll be out. And so yeah, that's my spoiler take on the film. Some interesting bits and pieces. I think they've tied in a lot of bits and pieces from the original three, but I still think you should go into the film looking at a new film, not a remake of the others. Just look at it as a new Spider-Man, etc. But it's decent. It's a decent film. Yes. Well, we got, and I would say go and watch it. It is an awesome film. It's an awesome film for all the family. Let's just say that. Out of 12A. So yeah, go and see it. Enjoy it. It's up to you. All I can say is this is my opinion. I enjoyed it. Loved it. And it's up to you what you say. But I enjoyed it. I like to hear from you, see what you say. I know this is a very long video, but I wanted to talk about a lot of bits and pieces in the film, like all spoilers, etc. But yeah, so please comment down below, tell me what you think. Tell me I'm a long bearded man gassing about nothing. That'd be awesome. I don't really care. Say hello, say anything, say goodbye. I don't mind. Yeah, just comment down below. tell me what you think, and hope you all have a good day, and I'll talk to you later. And remember, people, keep calm, grow a decent beard. See you later.